Okay. Yeah. Do you mind if I turn this a bit? Okay. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our PRT career panel. My name is Colleen, and I'm a senior PRT major, and I'm one of the co-chairs for Student Advisory Board.
And my name is Sophie. I'm a junior PRT major, and I am also on the Student Advisory Board.
So today we have some awesome professionals here to speak about their careers and just the experiences they've had getting to where they are now, and maybe some tips and tricks for how they've gotten to where they are now. And so as our panelists speak, if you have any questions at the very end, we're going to go through all of those questions. And so we would really appreciate if you just throw them in the chat. And then at the very end, we'll go ahead and just read them off so that we don't have people talking over each other. So we're going to start out with Justine. So Justine, if you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Justine. I use she, her pronouns. I grew up between Atlanta, Georgia and France. And I went to UVM until 2011, where I graduated with a PRT major and a French minor. While at UVM, I was really active in the skiing and snowboarding scene. And I specifically chose the PRT major to work in the snowboarding industry. So freshman year, I became one of the members or one of the officers in the Ski and Snowboard Club, which really helped shape my career right from the get-go. It really gave me some amazing experience working with our local ski area partners, different sponsors, different partners, and really gave me some hands-on learning in terms of contract negotiation, understanding of marketing, and really catering to our demographic here at UVM. I was also an advocate. So I was a tour guide, which helped open some doors as I met some people through ESPN, which will make sense later on in my story. And I had the chance to intern with a few different organizations and companies in Vermont, including Rome Snowboards, where I interned for a summer, and Ski Vermont, where I was actually translating documents from English to French for the Quebec market in Vermont. So I came into UVM really knowing that I wanted to work in the skiing industry, and discovered my sophomore year that there's a thing that existed that would actually get me there, and where I could study tourism, especially in Vermont with an active industry. And that's how I transferred in my sophomore year into the Rubenstein School to study Parks, Rec, and Tourism. I had the opportunity of meeting Dave Kaufman, who's on this call, I'm pretty sure. I had the chance of attending resort management marketing. I was probably one of the first people to ever get injured on a trip. Sorry about that, Dave. We did ski area management and entrepreneurship, which was really foundational for me. In leaving UVM, I basically moved immediately to the French Alps. I'm a dual citizen, so I figured being fluent in French and having citizenship would really help me build my career. Because when I was at UVM, I realized how much I enjoyed planning events, and the goal was to then work for the X Games and ESPN. So I basically met with every single person I could possibly find in the ski areas, in Tignes specifically, where the European Winter X Games were taking place. I basically harassed anyone I could find for a volunteer opportunity or for a job. And slowly but surely worked my way into the ESPN operations team, where I was a ground liaison between the French teams and the resort teams, as well as ESPN. And eventually I ended up applying for a full-time position within the X Games team. I didn't get it. Understandably, I was way too young and way too inexperienced, but some of the team at that point were like, you should really consider contracting for us, because we could use people like you on our events around the world. So I had the chance to work for X Games in Tignes, X Games in Barcelona, and X Games in Aspen. And slowly but surely just ended up falling into building a small business for myself. I ended up working for a whole variety of other clients, like the Beanie Invitational. All the big skiing and snowboarding events in Europe basically became clients of mine. And over the course of 6 years, I built a business where I was an events producer, media producer, and social media manager for a variety of companies, including Red Bull, Monster, Under Armour, and other big brands in Europe. The work I do today really comes from that. I am now a certified professional coactive coach, and I coach photographers, videographers, writers, and anyone else with a small business in the outdoor and action sports industry the reason for this shift was I ultimately realized I wasn't really that interested in marketing anymore. It didn't feel good to help Red Bull sell more Red Bull and Monster sell more Monster. I wanted a new challenge that focused on really helping people build their businesses, empower themselves to make choices. And that actually ended up happening as a result of kind of like a, we call it a moment of enlightenment, but it was kind of more of a breakdown of being like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I not happy? And I had to do a lot of reflecting on what it was that I wanted to do, and worked with a coach and decided actually that this is exactly what I wanted to do. So I, since then, have built another business, and I've been in business for about 3 years, in part thanks to COVID, as a result of a lot of people asking themselves some really important questions. And now I specialize in the outdoors industry, and I help people build their careers and build their businesses there. I love giving a shout out to Dave, because it's actually his entrepreneurship class that made entrepreneurship really accessible. I've been very fortunate to watch my father, who's an entrepreneur, move through his business, but it was definitely learning kind of through those basics and seeing it in real time with somebody who has, who has or had a business of his own, was really impactful. And so my career has been a kind of a winding road of following things that make sense to me at the time, all the while knowing that I wanted to build a career path out of my interests and out of supporting an industry that had given me so much. And that's kind of been my journey so far. I have had the opportunity of traveling around the world to work on different events, and now I get to work with people all over the world again through helping them establish and build their businesses. And it's crazy to think that it all started here in Vermont. I just moved back 6 months ago, and it's been a decade since I left. And it's been incredible to know, that this state is why I was able to build the career that I did. And that's my story.
Let me interrupt. Can I interrupt for a sec, Colleen?
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, because
Sure,
I got to tell you, I've got to run out in about 3 or 4 minutes to go get Samson, or Dougie Daycare is not going to be very happy with me. So, and then I'll be back as quick as I can. But it's great to see the 4 of you. Justine, I had lunch with sometime over the summer. Travis, sometime over the summer. Caleb, I haven't seen you since probably since graduation. You designed our logo, did you not?
I sure did, yes.
Yeah, and we just put it on 34 more students. They had to pre-order, but most everybody loves it. And so thanks again for that. And Cassie, my God, I miss you. I haven't seen you in so long. And this summer I'll have to trek over your way, or you and Jake can fly your seaplane into our dock this summer, right?
We have lots to show you, Dave.
I am looking forward to it. So thanks very much for joining this panel this afternoon. It's wonderful to see the 4 of you, and I'll be back as quick as I can. I'm just leave the computer on and disappear for a few minutes. Okay, next.
Thank you so much, Justine. So next we're going to hear from Travis. So Travis, go ahead.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. Just nod or give a thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Travis Bobley. I use he, him, his pronouns. I graduated from UVM from the PRT department in 2017. I was a Parks and Rec major with a focus in the private sector. So they changed that up while I was in school. So I took a lot of public and private courses. So public being more geared towards the national parks, and then the private sector would be hotel and resort management and stuff like that. So I definitely knew that I wanted to be in the private sector. And that's kind of where I moved into with one of my first jobs out of school. But I did have a really good appreciation for the national parks, and it helped lay a foundation of understanding how our ski areas interact with the state as far as permitting and stuff like that. So that helped me build a really good base for all the knowledge that I had to accrue with my current job. So now I'm the marketing manager for Ski Vermont, and it's awesome that Justine also worked at Ski Vermont. I didn't know that, so we'll have something to talk about. So yeah, it was kind of a roundabout way of getting there. When I graduated, I really had no idea what I wanted to do, and my parents kind of made fun of me for being a Parks and Rec major. They just thought I went to college to be a park ranger, but I always knew that that was not the case. And so I was on the sailing team at UVM, and that took up a lot of my time because if you don't know, UVM sailing team is one of the most competitive club organizations. So we compete against NCAA teams, and we do quite well. So between that and skiing and going to all of Dave's classes, but none of my other classes, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just coached sailing up here at the Mallets Bay Boat Club for 2 years. I think it was after my senior year. Yeah, that summer. And then I went into the catering, I guess, business. I wasn't a caterer myself. I worked at the Essex Resort and Spa for a year, and then a friend of mine from the sailing team, her mother works as has an advertising company in Stowe, Karen Fahey Advertising, and so she saw me carrying plates at the Essex, and she said, "You should come and intern for me." So I got very lucky with that. Just happened to be in the right place at the right time, really. I think that had I reached out, if I really wanted to change something, I could have used some of the connections that I built at UVM that I have gone on to use in my current job now. So I went in and I learned a lot of really great skills from the advertising company, like how to just email with people, how to ask for things on deadlines, how to manage my time best, how to manage multiple clients at the same time. So that really helped me. And then I also learned a lot about ad buying and stuff like that, which is, again, pertinent to my current job. So after working at Karen Fahey Advertising, I saw that Ski Vermont had a position opening up as a marketing and communications coordinator, which is essentially an intern, but it was paid. So I applied for that gig, and my current boss, who is the president of Ski Vermont, Molly Mahar, was one of the graduates of the PRT program way back. Not to date her, but she was one of Dave's first students. So that was really cool to have that connection. And I think, that and my resume definitely helped me get the job. But knowing Dave is a great guy to know. So if you can, utilize him to the fullest extent, I absolutely encourage you to do so, because he's done some amazing work in the Vermont State Legislature and in the ski industry, and he knows everybody. Or if he doesn't know everybody, he knows who to talk to get you where you need to go. So yeah, I hate to say that I was really in the right place at the right time, but I was. And being a white guy, it was very easy. And so, take everything that I say with a grain of salt, because, when you look like I do, things are a lot easier than for somebody who doesn't look like me. So I think that's kind of how I ended up in the Ski Vermont role. But once I was there, it was really a test of my merit. And so I was really able to utilize my personality and my personable skills, as well as my time management, to really show that I was a valuable employee. And when we were looking for a new marketing manager, my boss was looking elsewhere, and it was actually a marketing director position. I applied for it, and they changed the position to a manager because my boss wanted to hire from within, because she didn't want to lose me, and saw that I had great potential for growth. So working hard at what you are good at, and definitely playing to your strengths, is something that I highly recommend everybody do, because ultimately it gets you to the place where you really want to be in life. So now at Ski Vermont, I handle the social media. I do our marketing and promotions emails. I handle our marketing partnerships and contracts, and I do a bunch of other stuff. I fulfill the poster orders, and then I help out with like designs for our t-shirts and stuff like that. I am by no means a designer, so it can look a little boring, but you know, Ski Vermont's a trade association. We're not Ski the East. But yeah, so getting into how I got into PRT, a friend of mine from the sailing team just told me that's what I should do because I was unhappy with my current major and I really was lost. I didn't know where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. I started out as an English major and then I started out as an education major and then I changed to English. And then I really didn't know what to do because my dad was an English major and he doesn't have a job by choice. He, you know, but he never really used his degree. So I really didn't have anyone to call upon. And so a friend of mine just said, hey, try PRT. It's great. You get to ski and you learn all about the ski industry. And I said, okay. And then I met Dave and I was like, okay, I could definitely, you know, take a bunch of classes with this guy. And so, yeah, PRT was a great opportunity for me. I learned a lot in the entrepreneurship class. I actually was one of the finalists in the business competition. And so that was pretty cool. Our business was total BS, but don't tell Dave. We got to one of the finals and got like a $50 gift card, I think, to Amazon is what they give you. But I never ended up using that. I think it's valuable to know how to run your own business, though, because I know that some other people on the panel have definitely utilized that class and started their own businesses from the class specifically. So yeah, that's kind of all that I do. If anybody has any questions for me, please let me know.
Thank you, Travis. So next we're going to hear from Cassie.
All right. So my name's Cassie Marion. I grew up in Vermont and I graduated from UVM in 2015. I ran track for UVM. So while I was there, I was super involved with that, but got into PRT as a sophomore in kind of a similar way to Travis, kind of through some friends. Started out as an athletic training major, and after freshman year, loved it, learned a lot from it, but needed something a little different. So I actually had to write a bunch of stuff down because 7 years has packed a lot in. But I think one of the biggest things, as we've already heard from other people, is that the entrepreneurism class, this will tie in so many times to everything I said. This class literally has worked its way into the last 2 years of my life, even in so many ways. It's hard to even explain. So I took all of Dave's classes, loved them to absolute pieces, and really tried to soak in as much as I could from Dave. And he literally, I talk about him all the time. It's been 7 years. So definitely love ski area management. Loved that I got to ski for class. That was the best. And went on to TA the class my senior year, which was a lot of fun. And then entrepreneurism obviously was huge, and I want to talk about that too. But I think I'll wait a minute to really dive into that. My sophomore year at UVM, I did start whitewater rafting in the Adirondacks. So I've had my guide license. This is going to be my 10th year on the river, which is pretty crazy. I just feel really old, but it's really fun. And I've actually worked with a lot of PRT students have come to work for me now. And I've got a couple kids who actually just graduated in December, who are coming to work for us this summer. We're really excited to have them. I've worked with a ton of college kids, and the PRT kids are the best. They are the most reliable. They're the most interested in what we do, and they have really good work ethic, and it's a part of their life already. They want to be outdoors. So we love really kind of helping that along. I know there's one girl who we're working with right now who actually wants to start her own rafting company. So still while I was at college, I started the Hotel Vermont activities program, ran that for a couple years, and then passed it along. It was just time for that program to have new staff and time for me to go on to a bigger program. So I moved on to Trapp Family Lodge, was there for about a year or so, and kind of similar things happened. Found my way into track and field coaching. So I coached for middle grade college for 6 years. I actually just left there in February. So took a track career at UVM and built on it. It was beautiful and amazing. And I did a lot of commuting from the Adirondacks, where we live and have for 6 years. And it just kind of, the commute with those gas prices right now, it was a lot. So love Middlebury, have the best things to say about them, and was definitely not a Parks and Rec related career path, but worked really well in terms of our yearly calendar schedule with our whitewater rafting company. So like I said, I started rafting 10 years ago. We actually bought the rafting company in 2017. So that's been a huge learning curve, going from a staff member for a family business, just kind of doing the guiding thing, being on the river, working with guests, to owning a company, hiring and paying every kind of insurance you could ever imagine, and then some. You know, insuring buses and keeping vehicles on the road from a commercial standpoint. You know, gear, all of the behind the scenes things that you might not always see. So definitely a word of advice, like any job you have, look around, you know, look at the things that aren't in the forefront, because you might be doing them someday, pretty soon. With coaching, the reason that really worked well was because coaching is hugely November through May, and then rafting is April through October. So it gives you a little bit of time off in the fall, and just a little bit of overlap in the spring. So it just kind of, it worked well for the time that it worked. So the reason I wanted to bring up entrepreneurship, in that class, we all know that the whole class is spent, you create a business plan, you create a business, and then you make a business plan around it. It took us 2 years to buy the building that I'm sitting in today, and it quite literally would not be possible without that business plan, which had absolutely nothing to do with this business. But I took the business plan that I created for that class and plugged in the information for the business that I'm sitting in today. And the bank said, wow, this is amazing. So I literally used the exact template for the class, and it works. It's not just a class. It's not just an exercise. It plain old 100% works. So about 2 years ago, we started looking at this property. It's called Binder's Cabins. It's in the middle of the Adirondacks, about a mile from my rafting shop. And it has a bunch of cabins that we rent, and it also has a state trooper barracks. So we're learning how to work with state contracts as well. And we just closed on it in January, and I took forever. I wouldn't tell Dave for the longest time because I just didn't want it to fall through. I was so nervous. And so he asked me about it one day. I was like, okay, I can tell you. I'm so excited. So we now have this, it's kind of like a mini resort almost. It's got about 9 rental units on it. So we're that and rafting, and so I'm a full-time entrepreneur now. I don't work for anybody else, except I'm a substitute school bus driver, which is really fun. And it's kind of silly, but it works. And so yeah, I'm excited to work for myself, and really genuinely would not be here without Dave and the PRT program. So it's a really important part of our life. You know, it also ensures that we can ski whenever we want to. You know, we're making our own schedule, and it dictates when you can take your vacations based on when everybody else vacations here. But it's pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited to be where I am today.
Thank you. So last but not least, we'll hear from Caleb.
Hey everybody, I'm Caleb. I use they, them pronouns. I originally grew up in Philadelphia, and then I moved to UVM, where I graduated in December of 2018. I studied PRT with a minor in emergency medical services and a self-designed kind of focus in environmental education. I originally chose UVM and PRT because, like Travis said, you could choose public or private sector at the time, and I really wanted to go into the public sector. And UVM also had what was called the Park Studies Lab, which was run by Robert Manning, which in my first year at UVM, they got rid of both of the public and private sector and the Park Studies Lab, which was a huge bummer, but I still kind of got to reap the benefits of a lot of those things. There were still bits and pieces of the Park Study Lab hanging around while I was in the Rubenstein School. And I did get to meet with Robert Manning. He was a guest lecturer in a few of my classes. So that was somewhat of a dream come true when I got to meet him. Some of my favorite classes in PRT were Parks and Wilderness Management, which was taught by Bess Perry, who's now, I think, at the University of Michigan. I also really loved the recreation planning class and landscape architecture with David Raphael, who just recently passed away. I now work as a landscape architect and as a community and recreation planner and analyst. And the way that I got there is definitely not how I thought that I would get here, and I didn't really think that I would get here. When I was in college, this was my dream job, but then when I graduated, I didn't actually know how to get here. I didn't actually think that this job existed. So I kind of took a path towards environmental education. I worked for a summer camp as the assistant director for 4 years. I worked for an independent school in Shelburne, Vermont. I worked for a forest preschool here in Burlington. I was kind of doing just a whole bunch of like experiential and environmental education, which was really awesome. And that helped me to really build a community and build a network that through my job as an administrator at the independent school, I was digging through a closet one day when I didn't have much to do, and I was just doing some tidying up around the school. And in this closet, I found these master plans for their playground when they were redoing their playground. And there's this one giant board that had all of these like inspirational pictures. And then there was another board that had a topographic map of the school's playground. And then there was another map of like the design concepts for the playground. And I just stared at these boards and was so inspired by them and was like, this is just so cool. Like, who designed these? Like, whose job is it to make this playground? And so I look on the bottom of the board and I see this little logo of the company. And I go to my boss and I say, hey, do you have a contact info for the folks who redid the playground? And she gave me the contact info for the company, which she was probably upset about then when like 2 weeks later I gave her my resignation because I was going to work for that company. But I emailed the company and I said, hey, I'm really inspired by what you all are doing. Maybe I could talk to someone at the company just about like your career path and how you got there. And so I had 2 calls with a landscape architect over the course of maybe 2 or 3 months. And I emailed him again, wanting to touch base one more time. And his email response back to me was, you know what? You seem so curious and you seem like you have the right skills. How about you just come work for us and see how you like it? And so it was kind of one of those, it wasn't quite luck because I definitely put some work into, you know, messaging this company and like setting up these calls. But I think it really was like the benefit of building this network around me that let me run into this opportunity. So I think that, you know, whichever way my path swayed between graduation and now, and when I didn't really know what I was doing, it all led to me being here now. So I kind of look back on me being stressed out about not knowing what I'm doing and is this the right thing? And I just look back and think about like, it was exactly what I was meant to be doing at that time because it led me exactly to where I want to be. So as a landscape architect and recreation community planner, what I do on a day-to-day basis, as a planner, I look at recreation trends and suggest recreation opportunities for clients. I write municipal level planning documents. So towns will come to my company and say, we need to expand our trail network. Can you help us write our trails master plan? And so we do a bunch of community engagement, and we do recreation studies, and we pull together a master plan for how they can improve their trail networks. And then kind of a step further with that, the landscape architecture side comes in, where we design master plans, we do base mapping, we use GIS to make those base maps. And one of the skills that I think is, you can learn a lot of skills on the job. I use CAD a lot in my job. I use the Adobe suites a lot in my job. But I would definitely recommend, if you're looking, if you kind of know where you want to go, to build those technical skills while you're in college. So I did a lot of graphic design in college. Like David mentioned, I designed the PRT logo. I was kind of doing some freelancing in college as a graphic designer. I've always had a hobby as a photographer and filmmaker. And so building that technical skill of being able to use the Adobe suites, to use InDesign and Illustrator and Photoshop to make maps and to make documents, was a really big selling point for why this company hired me, because they didn't have to teach me how to do those skills that we use every single day. So whether that for you would be learning CAD or learning Adobe, or really diving deep into entrepreneurship and building business plans, having those technical skills can be really, really important as you're going out and getting jobs. And I think that's kind of my 2 cents on PRT and how I got to where I am.
Awesome. Thank you to everyone for sharing your experiences and your journeys to PRT and your careers now. We're going to have a Q&A session. So everyone who's on this call can type in a question and we can ask the panelists them. So we can give a minute for you guys to do that. And if not, we have some questions prepared that we can ask as well. So can you see that?
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah. While we wait for any questions to come in, one question that we wanted to ask for everyone was what advice you would give to a younger you or like a PRT major currently, and we can go in the order that you all presented in.
Yeah, I think I really, I definitely made use of my college experience. I was involved, some would say almost overly involved in a whole variety of activities. What I think I did underutilize was the classes outside of the Rubenstein School. I had come in with a lot of college credit as a result of doing the International Baccalaureate in high school. So there was a lot of courses that I didn't need to take. And I wish that I had really looked at the course curriculums outside of the Rubenstein School, especially in the business school or the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences with the communications program. I don't know if that's still the case. It's been a while. But while I studied abroad and I did a bunch of extracurriculars, I really think I would have loved to have the opportunity to take extra classes that I didn't know were even available. College is an amazing opportunity to dabble in things intentionally and really kind of like, as a few of you were saying, like pulling in different, technical skills or learning, different ways of thinking. And I think I would have done myself a lot of favors by like tapping into those things, especially in an environment where you can fail quickly and have the support system, whether that's through teachers and community, to rebuild. That, and honestly, I skied and I snowboarded so much, like 5 days a week. I think it would have been really good for me to prioritize maybe a bit more my schoolwork. And also, to be completely transparent, I think I went to too many parties, right? Like, I think I wasted Saturday mornings being hungover in my later college years when I could have been, doing things with the outing club and things like that. So I think moderation is something that I learned in my 20s that I really wish that I had like embraced much earlier on. For the sake of transparency, I think that's like honestly like the number one thing I would change.
Travis, you're still muted.
Can anybody hear me now? Yeah, better? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I put my headphones through the wash twice, and they weren't even mine to begin with. I found them in a snowbank at Stowe, so I stole them from somebody from New York. Anyway, Justine, what I was saying is that really resonates with me. You know, being able to use your time wisely is something that I've come to appreciate now, where, you know, when you wake up super hungover, it's not really great. If you can get out and push through that hangover, like go for a bike ride or go for a run or something and get rid of that, that's great. But yeah, being hungover is no fun, and getting up early is a lot better now. Although I will say I had a lot of fun partying in college, because I am a really social person. So I really enjoyed meeting a lot of people, and I'm a big connections guy. So, you know, for me, it's easy to connect with people, remember their names, remember their face, remember what they do, and then to like make something of that relationship. So it doesn't always happen at college parties, but I met a lot of really cool people that I still hang out with and keep in touch with today through that. The one thing that I would say, you know, I would give myself the advice, it might sound cliche, but if you have confidence in yourself, and you work hard, results will come. You know, the work that you put in to whatever you're doing shows your worth to the people around you, not just bosses, but also colleagues. And it's an impressive thing to be not only good at your job, but to care about it and to really do well, and to just make the effort. So, you know, even little things like showing up to work, not just on time, but a little bit early. Things like that go a long way. And they give you the tools you need to succeed. And like I said, it sounds cliche, but it really is true. If you work hard, you know, you can gain a lot from that. And of course, there's all kinds of other things that might get in the way with that. But I truly believe that, you know, showing people what you're worth is about working hard at what you do. That's all.
So my first piece of advice is to hang on to that entrepreneurism paper. It's very important. Definitely keep, I know that you get to graduation and you want to burn all that stuff, but like keep it. It's worth hoarding some of those things because they do really come in handy. Like I said before, it's not just an exercise, it's real life. It plugs in. But my biggest piece of advice would be to try your best not to say no to opportunities. I really noticed, like looking back, that I did that without knowing it, and oftentimes overwhelmed myself and ended up in these like insane situations where like one summer I had 5 jobs and it was just crazy. But like, do it while you can. It's like, if you can pull an all-nighter in your early 20s, like do it. You know, you're capable, and that's how, you know, having 5 jobs, like that was how I made connections. That was how I met so many people and gained so many skills. I'm not telling anybody to go get 5 jobs because it's a little insane, but try everything. Like, did I think I was going to be a school bus driver? No. Do I love it? Absolutely. It's so fun. But it ties into like, I have my CDL because I have a bus company, or not a bus company, a rafting company where I use buses. So like it all kind of snowballs, and it's really important to see the evolution of something. So even like one little conversation can just turn into so much more of an opportunity. So, you know, as much as you can, just say, yep, I'll try it. I don't really like water. I own a rafting company. I love rafting, love it. But like never in a million years thought I would be involved with this. So say yes, take a chance, jump outside your comfort zones. That's all.
Yeah, I really agree with everything that's been said so far. I really agree with Cassie. My first summer in college, I worked as a zipline guide for a ski resort in the summertime in New Hampshire. And like, I did it because I just thought it'd be like fun. I don't know. I was a rock climber. Like, I was like, oh, I get to just like climb stuff all day. That sounds great to me. But it ended up really helping me because now I help ski resorts plan their summer operations. And I have that like insider view of what it's like to work at a ski resort in the summer and what guests are looking for. And so like all these experiences that you have are like nuggets of information for you to use later. Did I think that that would help me later in life? No, like, but it does. And so I definitely agree. Like, take all the take chances, take opportunities, because it's valuable information. Whether it's something that you are going to use or if it's telling you that that is something you absolutely don't want to do ever again. It's all valuable knowledge. I also agree with keeping your textbooks. I use one called Studies in Outdoor Recreation at least twice a week. I have it right on my desk. I crack it open all the time. They can be super, super helpful. And my other piece of advice is definitely those technical skills. My biggest regret from college is not taking a GIS course or doing the GIS minor. That field is rapidly evolving and it's in so many fields of PRT. And it is very helpful and will definitely give you a leg up when looking to get a job.
So we do have a couple questions from the audience. So the first question can be for anyone, all four of you can answer. So it's, what did you learn at UVM that helped you the most with your current career? Cassie, go ahead. And Justine can.
I know it's kind of like a super broad question. Sorry to interrupt. I feel free to answer it however you want. I just kind of want to know like what helped you the most in terms of what UVM provided, like for career help and, you know, like what you were able to get from that. I know it's kind of a broad question.
I have one. Or do we want to go in order still, or no? Okay.
Go ahead.
Dave talks a lot in most of his classes about empowerment and how that's really important as any kind of employment that's above someone else. And I learned that it's kind of evolved over the 6 years of owning the rafting company, and going from kind of an age where like we were the same age as our employees, and now kind of figuring out, and especially during the COVID summer, which was like, oh, I thought that was one of the questions. COVID was the best thing that ever happened to the Adirondacks. People discovered something that was in their backyard that they didn't know before. It's great. So that was a really, really hard summer, and we had to find ways to get our staff through that summer. We had hardly any staff. They busted their butt for us, and we had to figure out how to say thank you in a big enough way that really rung through to them and made them feel like they wanted to come back, because otherwise it just beat them into the ground. I mean, it's a hard job. It was a hard situation, and figuring out just saying thank you for coming to work today is really, really huge. Like that in itself is empowering that person. And it makes a really big difference. We definitely have had a group recently that responds really well to that, like verbal thank you, but there's, you know, I've bought staff things like cool hiking boots, and it's these things that you learn about these people. They become a part of your family. They become a part of your life. And raising them up can be really, really hard sometimes to remember because you're just so busy in whatever situation you're in, whatever role of power or management or ownership. It just doesn't matter. It's bringing that person who might feel under you, regardless of whether or not you think they're under you, building them up and making them feel important and making that known to everybody around them that they are crucial to your livelihood, to like everything that you do is it's huge. It's really important. Empowerment.
I love that, Cassie. What I was also going to say is what I loved about the Parks and Rec or PRT was the fact that you did get, I mean, back when I was a student, you did get to kind of like taste test a variety of things. And I don't know if it's Dave who hammered this home the most or just a collective of professors, but you have to understand the industry that you're in. And I emphasize this to my clients all the time. You know, a photographer who understands who makes the big decisions at bigger brands has a much better chance of getting that freelance work than somebody who is really unfamiliar with it. Something that I took away from every single internship I did was every day I tried to learn something new about my industry. So even if the work I was doing in the day-to-day didn't necessarily feel like it was paying off, you know, interning at Ski Vermont and then interning at Rome Snowboards, I got a very different feel for what this industry at large had to offer. And I think that's something that I really want to emphasize as early on as you can, whether you're going into hospitality or the National Park Service, or whether you have a sense of where you want to go or not. The wider and the deeper you have of an understanding of your industry, the more tools you have available to you. If you understand someone's role the minute that they say, hey, I'm marketing director of X, and you can place them in the ecosystem, you have a much better chance of figuring out how to be useful to that person than somebody who only knows a very specific silo of the industry. And that's what I loved about the breadth of what we got as students in the PRT program is you really started piecing together this ecosystem that is the tourism industry. And that's definitely the biggest thing I take away. And I emphasize this to my clients in the work that I do every day.
Yeah, I have to echo both Cassie and Justine there. Empowering people. So, you know, just knowing who they are. And that kind of ties back to my connections thing, where when you meet somebody, you are forming some kind of a relationship with them. So it stands to reason that you should remember something about them. And so if you can figure out that, you know, if one of your employees or coworkers likes Reese's cups, right? And then on their birthday, you give them a little bag of Reese's cups from Walgreens, like that's just a nice way to say, hey, I appreciate you. And, you know, it's nice working with you. And that it goes a long way. So we do that in our office. We're a small team, but it really makes me feel good when on my birthday, I get a little card that says, hey, happy birthday. And then I get, you know, something that I forgot that I really liked, that somebody made a note of it. And then to Justine's point, understanding the industry that you're in, that goes such a long way. You know, in interviews, you should do your research on the place that you're interviewing, because, you know, before you even get started, if you can ask really good questions that show that you've thought about this position, that goes such a long way. I mean, you need to understand what you're getting into when you interview somewhere. And if you show that you don't really have great questions, it almost seems like you're disinterested. So yeah, again, really understanding your industry. And then I think I'm grateful to UVM for giving me that understanding of the tourism industry, because like I said, I studied both public and private. So I already had a working knowledge of how the state of Vermont interacts directly with these private companies that are ski areas. So those two things are absolutely crucial. And thank you both for reminding me of those two things, because they can get lost. What I would say is utilize your professors. Again, connections. Your professors didn't get to where they are today just for doing nothing. They're really smart people, and they know a lot more people. And if you can develop a network or a relationship with them, it can take you anywhere. And I think that's the beauty of networking. If you can be good at it, you can take yourself places that you wouldn't have dreamed of. And it's hard for some people. So making that small connection with one professor that you really jive with is easier for some people than it is for others. But I think it's really valuable, even if it's hard for you to make that connection. And then finally, college is the time to figure out what you love about your life. It's a chance for a lot of people to start over or start anew. And so I really figured out that I just wanted to go skiing all day. And I did exactly that, and it worked out. But yeah, it's a time for you to figure out what you like. So, take those chances, take all those classes, utilize what UVM has to offer, use your elective classes, because it will serve you very, very well.
I think one of the things that I learned the most from at UVM was when we met people in the industry or had guest lectures or went out to a location to learn about whatever it was. I remember field trips out to like Button Bay State Park, and this someone who runs Talent Skate Park came in to talk to us, and just gathering all of these experiences was so helpful to me to know what was possible and to hear people's paths and how they got to where they were. Because to me, it was so like step by step in my head where I was like, okay, I'm going to graduate college and then I'm going to get this job and then that's going to be my life. And it's not like that at all. Like, no matter how much you want it to be, like it's going to take you a lot of steps to get wherever you get. And there's going to be other steps after that. And you're never going to end up where you think you're going to end up. And it just takes a lot to put your trust into the universe that it will work out. And so it was really reassuring to me to attend panels like this and to hear people's paths and to hear those like guest lectures. And yeah, that was really invaluable to me, just to hear a lot of other people's experiences. So I really appreciated how kind of experiential the PRT program was.
Okay, we have one question in the chat. It's what advice would you give to someone looking to build connections beyond local or Vermont? And anyone can answer that, whoever feels like it.
Caleb?
My advice would be exactly how I ended up in the position that I'm at, and just email a company that you think looks cool. Just say, hey, can we chat? Just to learn more about whatever they're doing and to build that network. People love to talk about their jobs, it turns out. They're not going to be bothered by you emailing them saying that you're really curious about what they do. It sounds like cheesy, or it sounds weird just to like cold email people. But it really does work. And people are stoked to share what they do.
The way that I look at it is you tend to have cold outreach and like warm outreach. And so for warm outreach, it's anyone who you're already connected with can connect you. Again, you're in Vermont, right? So in terms of tourism, you have basically the East Coast ecosystem available to you. So it's, again, who do you know that knows the person that you want to know, and really utilizing that and nurturing that and like showing interest. Like Caleb was saying, like Travis brought it up earlier, do your research, get to know them a little bit, show that you've put in the work. As Caleb was saying, like reach out, nurture that relationship. And then on the cold outreach, similarly, do research, know what it is that you're talking about and know what you're asking for. So if you need 15 minutes of their time, be specific, help them help you by like, hey, can I put this on your calendar in a week from now for 15 minutes, asking you these 3 questions. Like, especially on cold outreach, like saving that person time and getting to the like core of it is really important. I mean, I moved to the Alps with 0 contacts, and I found that just simply by cold emailing, explaining what I wanted, telling people what I needed. People, like Caleb was saying, people love talking about themselves. They love talking about what they do. And especially in terms of building that trust and rapport, they want someone's enthusiasm. They want it to be worth their while. And also, oftentimes people want to know that they're helping somebody move through the ranks in a way that perhaps they didn't have available to them as well. And so I would say utilize what you have in Vermont, and then see who knows who, and then doing your research and being very clear on how a person can help you, help them help you. So many thoughts on that, but that's the gist of it for me.
I guess I mean, I didn't go very far from Vermont, but I will just add something really small, in that I think it's worth not only doing your research, but if it's, that's super important, but if it's something that you really care about and somewhere you really want to be, it's worth taking a trip and investing in something even as short as like a day trip, depending on where you're trying to be. I know the Alps might be a little more of an investment than the Adirondacks, but you know, people cold call me all the time, and I got a great group of guides this year, just from people cold calling and having a conversation. And you know, people say, well, you know, what do I need to like send a resume? And my biggest thing is like, it's so much more important that I talk to you and understand that you actually care about the job you're calling for. It's not just some one-off job. But people who have experience in the Adirondacks, or absolutely just like understand where our town is in the middle of nowhere, it makes, as an employer, it makes me want to look at you and talk to you a little bit longer, get to know you a little bit better, because you care enough to do something like that. So even though we're not super far away, like take a drive, take the trip, go for a camping trip, you know, whatever you can do, it's worth going to visit, in addition to making that initial contact, either before or after. Just that effort is important.
Yeah, I have to agree there. Going to the place that you're interested is really, really important. It, again, just to reiterate what Cassie already said, it just shows that you care. And there's also, like, depending on what field you want to be in, there's counterparts. Like, I have a direct counterpart in Utah. There's a marketing manager for Ski Utah. So something that I had thought about for a long time was, yeah, I really want to go live out in Utah and do this job. And so there's ways of doing that. You can, and again, this will go back to your professors. Like, if you really like landscape architecture, talk to whoever you had as a landscape architecture, you know, professor, and say, hey, I'm really interested in doing this either over in the Adirondacks or in California, because I guarantee they know someone out there. So again, utilize your professors, because they go to all sorts of summits, and, you know, professionals get together, and it's an excuse to like network and meet people who do exactly what you do, just in a different place. And there's great opportunities there. So kids don't necessarily have that experience just yet. So yeah, I highly encourage you to speak to your professors in the field that you want to join.
Seconding what Travis just said, your professors are part of the benefits of why you go to UVM. They are part of your network. I still email regularly with Bess Perry. We've seen each other at conferences. Like, they are, like, lean on your professors in college and out of college. They are a major source of information for sure.
I have to brag that I get to do that with Dave. So I see Dave. I live in Washington, and I get to see Dave, you know, when we have free time to get together for lunch. I come to class for resort marketing and management, and I do the presentation. So, you know, again, relationships, lean on your professors. Yeah, everybody has said kind of the same thing, but it's really important. Dave, you're the best.
Well, thanks. And well, again, I'm sorry I had to duck out for a half hour there, but Samson's home. You know, as the four, you know, you can contact me anytime you want to or need to, and so do many others. And one of the greatest values of doing what I do is seeing you all be so successful in what you're doing. It makes me happy, super happy. It's all I could ask for. So, and you know, you're rock stars. So thanks. Yeah, it's great. We have a network, and after as many years as I had in business, I got a big network. And as you know, it generally helps. So it's all good.
And by extension, we're your network now. So
That's
reach out to us if you have any questions about our journeys. Asking the journey, like what would I need to do to be in your shoes, is a really great question, because you're allowing that person to answer what their journey was and how that could help you. So we're your network now. Use us.
So it is just now 6:30. So we just want to start off by thanking all of our panelists. We really, really appreciate you coming and speaking and just sharing your journey and everything about what you've been doing since you left UVM and what you did while you're at UVM. We also want to thank everyone for attending and asking great questions. If you have any questions, or if you do want to get in contact with our panelists, please feel free to reach out to the Student Advisory Board or to the stewards, and we can put you in contact. Or if you have any questions about anything else, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have a couple more panels this week. So ENVS their panel is starting now, and links came out in emails. Forestry and natural resources are tomorrow, and WFB is on Wednesday. And then next week we have ENSC and a grad school panel, and we'd love to see people come to those as well. And just again, thank you so much, and we really appreciate everyone for coming and our panelists for speaking.
Take care, gang.
Thanks for
Wonderful to see you.
Thanks for having us.